Good morning, Starshine. Nothing. Okay, so I took my car in to get work on this week, and I pull up and I roll down the window and I say to the car tech mechanic, I say, "Good morning, Starshine." And he says, "The earth says hello." Yes, but then he says the thing that just like cut me to the quick. He said, I'll never figure out how Johnny Depp did that voice. He was thinking of the Johnny Depp, like, Willy Wonka character. I was thinking of hair. It's those little moments that remind you are when you are in time and space. Good morning, church. I have some things I want to say before we get started. One, we're not going to do a reading, so we've got a very full agenda today. Please do stay for the picnic, which is now going to be inside, because we are a highly adaptable people and can figure that out. There's no reading because I wanted to save some time. There is a very special and very important meeting afterwards today about the wall, so please stay for that. We will have a guest here after service to talk about the walk to raise money for, what's the name of the disease? Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS? Yes? I'm going to tell you this now because it's very, very likely I will forget by the time we get to the announcements at the end. I will not be with you on Labor Day weekend because I will be at a funeral for my aunt who died of ALS. Now, that is the sister to my mother. My mother's husband, who is 88 years old, was diagnosed 2 weeks ago with ALS. We are doing this walk because Leslie Edwards, who was an amazing, wonderful, lovely human being, asked that we do this in memory of him and his family. I just want to be really clear that this is not a disease of a particular subset or the particularly young. It is everywhere. I will not be here for that. That's happening September 25th, I think. But you can talk with the woman whose name I don't remember. I'll tell you when we get to announcements. We should start worship with singing. Yes, there we go.
We light this chalice.
Having a hard time.
Oh, sorry. Let's get the bowl going. There we go. We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open mind, the church of the loving heart. Church of the helping hands. Together we care for each other and the church. Hello, my name is, hang on, let me do this. There we go. Sorry. Hello, my name is Melissa Rowland. I've been a member here for nearly 20 years. I'll be your worship associate this morning. I'm also your new vice president of the board. I warmly welcome you to St. John's Unitarian Universalist Church. This is a welcoming congregation. We welcome you regardless of your sexual orientation, gender identity, race, ethnicity, or any of the other ways that you may be the beautiful and unique person that you are. We welcome you. Please put your electronic devices in worship mode. And again, welcome. We will now sing hymn 1051, right?
We are, yes.
In the teal hymnal.
I'm going to warn you all. This is a long one. It's a lovely one. It's a long one, but you're going to have to pay attention because there's a lot of, like, go back and repeat and things like that. So.
We trust you, our fearless.
All right. Okay. Please rise.
That was a challenging song. I hope that the words live with you. I hope you know that you are all of these things and so much more. Will you join in our morning's affirmation? This is the mission of our faith, to teach the fragile art of hospitality, to revere both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to witness to all that we must hold the whole world in our hands. Thank you. Folks, it's raining. Yes, it is. So when my husband and I first got together, he thought that mountains meant the Rocky Mountains. You know, those tall, bony, pointy things out somewhere in the West. And I thought that mountains meant the Appalachians, those soft, rolling hills older than time. The thing about the Appalachians is that they are full of nooks and crannies and crevices. And when the rain comes, there really isn't anywhere for it to go but to fill up those nooks and crannies and crevices, which are all the places where the people live. My grandparents' house, the house they had when I was growing up, was washed away in a flood maybe in the 90s, I think. This is another year where the floods are really, really bad. Most of my family is in eastern Kentucky. We are a congregation that straddles the line. How many of you have friends or family in eastern Kentucky? Yeah, a few. Excellent. It's hard. It's hard. The governor, Andy Beshear, has asked for help. These are our neighbors. These are our friends and our family members. One of the more painful realities is that they will be using some of the money that they raise, or have already used some of the money that they've raised, to pay for funerals for families who can't afford it. So today we are doing a special collection. This is not the collection to sustain the church. Everything you put in this little basket up here will go to flood relief. There'll be another collection later on where you can give to the church, which is a good and worthy cause in its own right. But this collection is just for relief, flood relief in eastern Kentucky. And what we're going to do is I'm going to invite you to come forward for joys and sorrows and choose a stone to place in the dish of sand, those stones to represent your joys or sorrows for the week. If you would like me to mention something from the pulpit, please write it down and hand me a piece of paper. If you are joining us online, please text me your joy or concern, and I will be sure to include that. And if you've got a little extra money in your pocket and you would like to contribute to flood relief in eastern Kentucky, if every one of us just puts in a little, it will make a difference. I'm often very bad at navigating the processes of giving online, but I can drop $1 into a plate. So I will leave it at that. We will now share our joys and sorrows. I invite you to come forward and choose a stone. And yes, enjoy Peng Chang's playing. Thank you. don't have anything on text. Roberto, was there anything listed in chat that we should remember? No. Melissa, would you please place a stone for the sorrows and joys that are not spoken? And maybe one for the people who need a church like ours, but they don't know we're here yet. And if we could light this lamp in appreciation for all of those who hold us up when we are struggling, all of those who rejoice with us when there is joy to be had. So there's a secret to this lamp, which is that it's a little bit difficult to light, but like the light in so many of us, often it is kindled before we know it. It just takes a moment to come to full glow. So there it goes. Melissa gave it a little nudge, and then it came into its own. Thank you, Melissa. Will you join with me in an attitude of prayer? Holy One of blessing, we name your presence in us and among us. With humility, we acknowledge our limitations. With gratitude, we embrace the community. May we bring our gifts one by one and join them in a mosaic of life-giving beauty. May we serve and play. May we laugh and sing. May we learn to cry together, unashamed. In the practice of this living, may we ultimately become more human together. So may it be. Amen. Thank you. All right, and I told you we're skipping the reading. Okay, I honestly don't remember if it was before church got started or when church was winding down, but I do remember that Larry was on the sofa out here in the entrance hall. He was reading something. It was probably the sermon, because he would read my sermons and make notes and critique me. He liked to do that. It was part of his spiritual practice. And Polly was little bitty, and she was just at that cruising age that children are at. You know that age where they're just like cruising around, holding on to things and doing that sideways walk? You've seen this. It's very exciting because they get to be upright and see the world from a different perspective. On this particular Sunday, the support of her choice was the coffee table, and conquering each obstacle brought a squeal of joy and delight. But rounding the corner on that coffee table, she literally ran into Larry's legs. And Larry did what Larry would do, which is he picked up his cane and shook it and yelled, "Arr!" And Polly responded with, "Yay! Arr! Yay!" There's about 80 years of age difference between them. That's a large enough gap for the communication to get lost, you know? He was yelling, she was cheering. It was still something of a conversation. Across the room, Polly's sister, with all the wisdom of an elementary age student, saw, or more likely heard this encounter, and came rushing to the rescue. Carefully supporting Polly, she moved that table back about a foot and created room at the table for Polly to move around and for Larry to live with his legs unbruised. The simple rearrangement of furniture brought harmony and grace, and a new friendship emerged between a toddler and an octogenarian. Church happened there. Church happened. In the conflict, in the yelling, in the growth, in the creativity of a third way, in respect for the very old and the very young and everyone in between. I'm loving that we have kids here today, and the truth is, in the past few months, we have not had so many children around. It's common for our attendance to go down over summer as everybody is running around on vacation and at grandma's house and other obligations. Coming out of COVID time's been a little harder, and then we're also short-staffed right now. But the seasons are changing, the weather is getting cooler, and that coolness is inviting kids back into schools. Our drive times will be longer as you get behind school buses or wait for the crossing guard, or maybe you're the one in the car line picking up your kid or your grandkid. And I hope that maybe when you're slowed down in traffic or where you're there picking people up from school, that you say a little word of thanks for the taxes that make it possible to have high-quality public education and pay all those people who care for our kids. Maybe as you're waiting, you're thinking of your own children or even of your own childhood. Sometimes I think it's very easy to look at our own childhood with like rose-colored glasses and think of all the sweet things and not remember the hard things. But remember that all of us who fancy ourselves to be moral and ethical creatures only got that way by making a number of mistakes or acting in ways that fell short of being moral or ethical, and having to learn how to be otherwise. And we only learned how to be otherwise because we had grown-ups who helped us out, right? And those grown-ups who cared about us don't have to be biological relatives. They really don't. We made our way to adulthood because somebody cared enough about our well-being to make sure that we could sustain our growing edges. Someone had to move the table to make room for us to learn to walk. Someone needed to move the table to make room for us to share with people who are different than us. You know? I like to think of Larry in his early 90s sitting there looking at Polly as if she were a creature from some other planet. You know? Learning to share the space with people who are very different from us is part of being church. There are many children. There are many children who grow up in a reflection of those rose-colored glasses, where the adults in their lives are managing things fairly well, and things are mostly going okay. And if they're not going okay, the kids don't know about it. And there are many children for whom that is not true. Many children grow up with adults who are eclipsed by the reality of rising rents, or the lack of employment, or the combination of having plenty of work hours, but those work hours don't actually get you enough money to pay the rent, or to take care of your basic cost of living. In Cincinnati, as of 2019, 40% of children here in our city lived below the poverty line, 40%. The national average of child poverty is 19.5%. So you may wonder, what is the poverty line? I'm ready to tell you. I looked up numbers, and I wrote them down so I'd get them right. Okay. Poverty line for a 4-person household is defined as $26,500 per year. Average rent for a two-bedroom apartment right now is $1,275 a month. $15,300 per year, or 58% of $26,500. That leaves a family of 4 living in a 2-bedroom apartment $11,200 a year to live on. Now divide that by 12, and you get $933 per month. Okay, so people are funny, because people always misjudge things. So here's like a true thing. If I were to ask y'all, or maybe everybody in Clifton, or everybody in Ohio, how much money do you think you spend on food a month? The average answer would be $400, because we think we spend like $400-ish on food a month. Do you want to know how much money the average middle-class household spends on food for a month? Guess. 500, no. 800. 1,900. $1,900. That number is coming from the USDA. According to the USDA, for a family of four, a thrifty family, I love the use of that word, a thrifty family of four can spend $931.30 per month on food costs. That leaves $2 and some odd cents for utilities and clothing and everything else you need. The good news is that children mostly don't know and don't care about this, right? I'm sorry, I think I shocked some of you. Are y'all checking my math? It's horrible no matter what you do. It just is. It really isn't good. But from the U.S. Government, it's their statistics and their numbers. All right. The good news is that children don't worry about these things. They don't know about these things. They don't worry about them. Children want safe places to play. They like to dance to music. They like to build with blocks of Legos or sheets over tables, and suddenly you have a whole magical kingdom of your own. Children like to spin. You don't need anything for that. You just kind of turn around, right? Do that a whole bunch of times really fast. It's like your own amusement park ride. So the good news is that for everything hard I just told you, children are creative and resilient. So I don't want to talk about the cost of childcare because that would depress us even more. So I won't mention too much about the average cost of daycare in Cincinnati being like $1,026 a month. But let's start by talking about kindergarten, those schools that we're going to be driving by. When your kids get into kindergarten through high school, they learn how to protect themselves against intruders. I'm not going to repeat the numbers from Sandy Hook. We all know those. Uvalde is still making it into our news feed every now and then. And the kids from Parkland have become young adult advocates who we see in the world. Emily Hodges is responsible for putting up the orange around our sign that is supposed to be up for a month to draw our attention to gun violence. And when she said it's time to take it down, I'm like, did we fix gun violence? Let me give you some numbers. In 2020, 999 children ages 0 to 11 were killed or injured in gun violence. Greg, my husband, was looking these numbers up for me, and I said, well, why didn't they count kids over 11? Because the numbers really skew when you get over 11. The same year, between the ages of 12 and 17, 4,142 kids were killed or injured by gun violence. And if you're wondering what killed or injured means, about a third, approximately a third of that number died. So yes, at St. John's, before the pandemic, we provided a place for Moms Demand Action to meet. Since the pandemic, they have not needed us too much. I hope to lure them back in with our lovely screen and other accessories. But I am mindful that they are still out there. We are keeping the orange up for as long as I can get away with it, because the lives of our children are impacted by violence. And I'm not giving you all the different ways. I'm just giving you one, just one. And it matters. And at St. John's, we care very much about the lives of children. We are about ready to hire a new person to organize and offer programs for our children and youth. It's a 20-hour-a-week position, and it will not include OWL. It will not include Our Whole Lives. But wait, I hear you saying, we value OWL. Yes, we do. We value OWL enough that we want an individual volunteer to pick up OWL as a specific program that they are in charge of. I don't want it getting lost in the other work. And I don't want the other work, which is very important, getting subsumed to OWL, which can be very intense. I'm using acronyms, and I bet some of you are thinking, do you have an OWL sanctuary? No. OWL stands for Our Whole Lives. It is a comprehensive sex ed program for kids from like kindergarten through adults. And even in adults, we have a program for young adults and older adults. So it is a lifespan program that focuses on qualities of relationship as well as physical realities of relationships. There's enough to do in 20 hours a week at St. John's working with our kids, building up a program that does not include OWL. We need that to be the focus of this new position. As the minister, remember I started by telling you about like Polly and Larry yelling at each other out here. Nothing breaks my heart more than when I say, "How was RE?" And I hear back, "Oh, the children were very good. They lined up and were polite." Are those children? Tell me they struggled with something and found an ethical, moral, creative, third way to solve the problem. Tell me they were expressive or creative. Tell me they sang a new song. Tell me one of them helped another one. I don't want to know that we were successful because the kids stayed out of the way of the grown-ups. I would much rather that they find ways and places to be together. Because when we are together, we help each other grow. A few months into the pandemic, my teenager, there we go, hi, who was previously looking down. I have his attention now. A few months into the pandemic, my teenager said, I don't miss church, but I miss those conversations I had with that guy on the sofa before church. And I said, which guy was that? And he said, you know, the one with the gray hair. So all of you can take credit for being the guy, or most of us can take credit. And he went on to say that he missed the conversations before church, where St. Johners got together and talked about things that were important. You know, where else can you do that other than the family table at Thanksgiving? Where else can you have those conversations between people across generations, where everybody is respected? Okay, you're 7, your opinion really matters. We will stop and we will listen to you. Okay, you're 16. Okay, you're 88. We want to hear what you say. You matter here. That's good church. And it's not just talking about things, it's doing things. Before the pandemic, serving at Matthew 25 Ministry was a regular thing that my family and I did. I've not gotten back into it since then. I know my older child helped with IHN when they were hosted in at First Church. She would go over there and help make meals and have time to spend with the families. IHN Found House, as they're now called, is that organization which uses church space, which would be empty during the week, to house families who otherwise wouldn't have a place to go, or if they went to a traditional shelter, might be divided up, might not be able to stay as families. Last week, Found House served 13 children. The youngest was 8 months old. 2 little kids were 2 years old. A handful were teenagers, which I think is a sentence that could be reversed. A handful were teenagers, or teenagers were a handful. Depends. It's got to be a name for that. Churches are unique here, because in churches we can come together to think about things and learn about them, to care about them, and to do something about them. Here, we are all grown-ups who care enough about the children to make room for them at the table, to make room for them to grow and thrive. May we enter this new season with a heart for the young and respect for their wisdom, and a willingness to always, always make room at the table. It is good. It is good to be together. All right, that's enough preaching. Peng Chang has music for us, and it's time to take up an offering to sustain the good works of this church. I invite you to give as you are able, if there's anything left after giving to the Eastern Kentucky floods. Peng Chang is going to play for us. We'll take up an offering, and then we will sing hymn number 1059, just so you know. we're having a moment of psychic conversation between me and Rob right now that you are witnessing. Do that one now. Okay, so here's the deal. Y'all open up to number 1059 in the Teal hymnal. We are certain we had a reason for choosing this when we chose it some number of months ago, but we cannot remember what that reason was. Would you like to sing it and learn it, that maybe we can sing it another time? Yes. Sort of. Sure, we'll go for it. This is a little bitty song, and we're going to sing it.
We're just going to sing it through twice.
Through twice, yes.
No round. No round. Please rise. Try it one more time, this time a little better. We as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing awake the light, and softly serenade the stars, never dancing circles in the night.
I know why we chose it.
Excellent.
Because it was so darn pretty. What did you all think about that? I think we should sing it again. Can we just read the words through? Can you walk us
Sure.
through the words once?
Can you hear me? May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn to sing awake the light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night.
Yeah. All right, let's sing it.
Sing it one more time. Song resounding with the dawn to sing awake the light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night.
That's beautiful. That's a new song for all y'all. Very good. Thank you. You may be seated. We have a few announcements today. Okay.
One correction. That is actually at 4 p.m. not at
Very important. The announcement as it's printed in your order of service about peace and togetherness, a concert for our times on the 28th. That's happening at 4 p.m., not 7 p.m. Time difference matters quite a lot there. After church today, we have a picnic in Krollpfeifer. You all stay. We'll have plenty. It will be good. Sabru Rashad is going to be joining us to talk about the fundraiser for ALS. I told you how the disease has affected my family. I'm sure I am not alone. It's a hard way to go. Nancy, where is Nancy? Hi, Nancy. Debbie, Kathy, Melissa, would someone like to announce something?
Last Sunday, I asked for volunteers to join the board, and we have a full board.
Yay!
Melissa is our new vice president. Chalice is our programs director. And Kim McDonough has volunteered to be the finance director. We are a
Yes, yes. Excellent. Thank you all. Thank you all for stepping up and helping out. So the names are Melissa Rowland is the new vice president. Debbie Combs is our new program director. And Jim McDonough is the new finance director. So it's a full group. Yes. Many of you have asked me about sabbatical. My sabbatical will be beginning in September. I had hoped to get a message out yesterday, but I was fighting all day long with a headache and literally nothing happened. But look for that on Tuesday. We'll get that out and available for you. Alice Diebel will be here as a part-time minister and a resource for all of you all. She is lovely. She's very good. And that will be great. And the 28th we have worship at the Transept. It's downtown at the corner of 12th and Elm, is that correct? Corner of 12th and Elm, and that will be a wonderful chance to be in the building where we came from there to here. I guess that's the best way to put it. Next week, I believe next week is water communion. At the moment, my computer is not working. Is that correct? Yeah. Yes. So that's a ritual where, there we go. That's a ritual where everybody's invited to bring in water. If you have not been traveling or if you have not brought water from some other place, there'll be water here to pour symbolically to represent the waters of your life. And we will have our ingathering then. I am going to suggest, since it's 11:17, I'm going to suggest that we say our closing words. Can we, do you want to sing 338? Yes, so we'll sing 338 and do the benediction, and then I'm going to suggest that if you can see it through, that you just remain here in the sanctuary, because I don't want to lose too many people for the special meeting about the front wall. Do we need like a 5-minute break? Okay, so we'll sing, we'll benedict, and then we'll meet. This is number 338.
38. Rise. I think you'll recognize the hymn, the tune at least, from Christmas. I seek the spirit of a child, the child who meets life naturally, the child who sings the world alive and greets the morning sun with glee. Children are real beyond the wars. Where I see
here in this place, there is faith, there is trust, there is hope, there is delight, there is joy. But most of all, there is a space where we can meet, person to person. There's a space where we come together at our growing edges and know we can become more than we were once. This is the best meaning of church I know, to gather the people, to tell the stories and break the bread. You can do that here. You can do that in many places. I hope that you keep the Spirit alive all week until we gather again for the sharing of water communion next Sunday. Go in peace, stay for a meeting, and I promise there'll be cookies and what all afterwards. Yes.